high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Catholic. I'm Jen Morrow, and with me today is Mike Walsh.
I was just thinking that as we record this, I have no idea when this episode is going to go out. Well, we've actually banked a whole bunch, and so I hesitate to almost talk about anything topical on it because I don't know what's going to show up. So, listeners, who knows? It might be you won't know. When it disappears, it'll be fun.
Oh my goodness! Well, now just kind of showing the listeners that we are ahead of the game. And,
we are actually. I have to give credit to our co-hosts. They have done a phenomenal job of coming up with a whole bunch of great fall interviews. I'm willing to bet the one we're currently recording is the one I'm going to put out first. So I'll say that we have another great conversation with Carrie Janice, our co-host out of Rowan Catholic Campus Ministry, and this great married couple that I met that weekend, who I've lived in town with them for most of my adult life and had never met them before. I've been co-parishioners with them we know the same people, and I'd never met these people, and they are the holiest, nicest, kindest people I've ever met, which could be why I've never met them before.
Oh, you beat me to the joke. I was actually debating whether I should say it or not, or just start off nice or not.
No reason to do that. But they were so sweet.
I am surprised because you are kind of Mr. South Jersey, and you know a lot of people in South Jersey. This is your area, so I'm surprised you hadn't run into them before.
People know me, and so we. Oh, that's right. I got to do it. Hold on. I hope I have it. Okay, so last time we had you and I were on the podcast.
Right.
I was saying how badly I felt that I missed that I forgot to write down the name of someone who had complimented us on the podcast and had said, "Oh, are you Mike Walsh from the podcast?" and whatnot. And so I was good enough to Donna Ottaviano Britt, the woman who who met me,
right,
heard that on the podcast, contacted Donna Ottaviano Britt, who she works with a lot, our good friend of the podcast, and let me know that her name is Michelle Anthony. So Michelle Anthony, thank you so much for listening. That's so sweet of you. That literally made my day, Michelle. So it
did. It is not often that we see a Mike Walsh smile, but he was really excited. So
yeah, that was really neat.
So thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, and I apologize again, Michelle, for not asking your name when you were so kind to compliment us on the show, but that was very sweet. And listen, we like to hear from all of you, so by all means, Jen likes it more. So if you see Jen walking along, tell her you heard her on the podcast and stuff like. Definitely let Carrie know, because Carrie worries sometimes that if she doesn't get enough feedback, that all of her work is for naught. She's the hardest working human on the planet.
She is. We were actually talking the other day, and I said, "Can you please tell me your secret for all of your energy?" Because she's amazing. I said, "Can I either clone you and you can come help me, or tell me your secret?" You know what she said her secret was?
What's that?
Coffee and Jesus.
Well,
I love that.
That's a great 1-2 punch right there.
I know. I really enjoyed that.
Carrie is number. She basically made me come over and record a podcast, and it was great. It was a great podcast. So that one's going to come out in a couple weeks. So that was a lot of fun. They're wonderful, the Woodsides. So it's been good, and I already got the schools department nailing me down for November and December podcast.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it's good. But we do have to do one little thing though. You know, you got Mark Wahlberg on the podcast in the spring?
Yeah, in the spring.
I think you need to start already planning what the next major star is going to be on.
Oh, all right. I'll think about that. Do you have any ideas?
Well, what we really don't have is any contacts, but let's come up with some ideas on who we can bring.
That didn't stop us with Mark Wahlberg.
No, it really didn't.
So
things just fall into our lap sometimes.
Yeah. All right. I'll just put my. What is that?
Thinking cap on?
Yeah, or something to the grindstone. What is that?
Nose to the grindstone?
Yeah. I'll do that too.
I understand.
Anyway,
dear listeners, we are a little punchy.
Very punchy today.
Jen and I had a very long morning dealing with a whole bunch of just fun folks.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of bouncing off the run. We've already met our guests today earlier. I got most of their names wrong, where they were from. Almost any information. The group that they're actually representing today. So it's going to be a fun episode, folks.
Mike forgot where I was from.
Right.
He thought I was from a different part of Texas than I was.
Yeah, you are not from Houston.
I am not from Houston.
I don't know why all this time I thought you were from the Houston area, not the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
It's probably because you can't pronounce it. You don't remember where it is.
That's because there's too many words.
Dallas-Fort Worth. DFW for short.
I will be flying through there, actually. in December.
It's a big airport, so plan ahead.
I do.
And it's a weather nightmare, so also plan ahead.
And I always make sure to walk past the Dallas Cowboys store as I go past it and make some inappropriate commentary as I go by.
Well, you can see the giant pod that is the Cowboy Stadium now from the plane when you land, because now
Really?
it's in Arlington, right across the street from the Ranger Stadium, and it's huge. So it looks like a giant white bubble, and you can see it from the plane when you land.
You know, all the times that I've traveled, and I've only been through Dallas-Fort Worth twice, and I have never been to Dallas. I had an opportunity to go to Dallas 10 years ago, and it fell through, so I didn't end up going, but I've always wanted to go.
Texas would like you. I can tell, right? Yeah, when we introduce the guest, because there's another guest on here today that's also from Texas, and I think that she's going to concur.
I like Texans. I like Texans a lot. I spent plenty of time in San Antonio, which was great.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Texans, so that's not a problem. Not all Texans.
Present company excluded.
Present company excluded.
Fair enough.
But Helen seems nice.
Yes, she does. Well, before we introduce all the guests, I think we should mention that we had a very exciting weekend last weekend. We had the diocesan Hispanic celebration.
We did. That was a lot of fun. That was your first one, right?
My first one. It was the first one that had been held since COVID as well. Mm-hmm. There were hundreds of parishioners there from
all over
Hispanic ministries from across the diocese, all 6 counties. They processed in with the banners from their Hispanic ministry. For the parishes with Hispanic ministries. And one of the things I loved most about it was that there were babies there up to grandparents. Like every generation was represented. It was just a fantastic afternoon.
You know, the thing that blew me away was just how many people were FaceTiming it. Not putting it. Our good friend and many times podcast guest Andres Arango, the head of our Hispanic ministry, he and I were talking about it afterwards, and he noticed all the people that were holding up their phones. And originally we thought that they were maybe like Facebook Living or Instagram Living or something like that. And what we realized was that we think they were WhatsApp FaceTiming, so that people elsewhere in the country, and that's not uncommon. Like I've been to other masses where I thought they were doing lives, and it's so that they can their friends at home or their families or people back in the old country can be a part of the mass.
That's neat.
And the thing is, it wasn't distracting. Like you would have thought that might have been distracting. Wasn't distracting at all.
I didn't even notice it. That's how undistracting it was.
Plus, it's great. I mean, I love the idea of personal broadcast, so long as they don't get in the way, because you're not supposed to take away from the mass, obviously. So we don't want anything to take away from the mass. But if it's low key like that, and everybody was really good about it, I was like, all right. And so what Andres was saying was it's a cultural thing. It's very much a cultural thing, and I'm like, well, I appreciate that part of the culture.
That's
As a
great.
communicator, I very much appreciate that. So, but don't anybody do that when we finally get around to doing a bishop installation, because I want to be the only one carrying that.
Yeah.
But we did get to live stream that, and that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. That was a great time.
But we missed out on the food.
We did.
We were so busy packing up and everything. By the time I tell people all the time, if you don't speak the language, it's okay. Stay till the end and enjoy the great Latino food. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we
missed out because we were too busy doing work. Mm-hmm. We did close out that church.
We did. We were the last ones out.
Yeah.
But it was a great event. Next time we'll get the food.
Next time, you know what? Next time we go over there before mass starts.
I don't know if the food was out that soon, but yeah.
We get whatever available.
Okay.
Because it's all good.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, so this is a podcast topic that I wanted to do for quite a while, actually. And as you know, we love having young people on the podcast. We love having young people in the paper. So we had an opportunity, sort of a spur-of-the-moment opportunity, which is also something we love to have. We had so many people, we've had so many ideas, long in advance. But this one generated, in the last 24 hours?
I would say that, definitely. Which, those are actually really great because, I don't know, everything just comes out naturally and I don't get nervous about it and stuff. So.
Well, yeah, because we're too busy to be nervous now.
Right, that's what I mean. Usually I have a whole bunch of questions listed. Mm-hmm. I've got no questions today.
So we say to our guests and to our listeners, this is going to be a great episode.
That's right, guests and listeners.
Well, let's go with the initial introduction first.
Right.
Who do we got with us today?
So today we have Cheyenne Schuster with us, Sean Farrell, Helen Polzer. Those are our students from the ECHO program. And then, of course, we have with us Lee DelleMonache, who is the Director of Religious Education for the diocese. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So would maybe Lee or one of the students like to explain what the ECHO program is and how it falls under religious education?
Well, I'll give the big general overview.
Is it 'cause I'm staring right at you?
Exactly, because I feel your eyes boring through me. ECHO is a beautiful program out of the McGrath Institute at the University of Notre Dame. It's a graduate program in theology. Where wonderful folks with undergrad degrees enter this program, and they get placed in conjunction with their studies that they do, because they do pretty rigorous studies. They get placed at a parish or a school within a diocese across the country, and recently they've reached as far as Ireland as well, a diocese in Ireland. So Camden Diocese has been a part of this for quite a while. This is, I think, our 4th or 5th cohort. And I've been blessed to learn about it in the first 6 months that I've been here. And at first, I would get this email about ECHO and from this woman named Claire McNamee. And I'm like, who is Claire and what is ECHO? And then I got to meet Claire, and Claire told me about ECHO. And I say, oh my gosh. First of all, Claire has been instrumental in this program and in supporting the students as they come and helping them transition here, and then their spiritual life and journey as they're here, along with Monsignor Roger McGrath, who's their spiritual advisor. He's been almost a chaplain role to the program to be support to the students. But the blessings is what they bring to the parishes that they are assigned to, because they have the opportunity to learn about all of the ministries at that parish and find out where their gifts sync well with them. And then in some cases they also fill a need, but that's not their primary role of filling a need. Their primary role is to grow and learn more about parish life and how to be a minister at a parish, and then discover for themselves what their gifts are, so that they can in turn earn that master's degree and then go out and do beautiful things through our church. But I'll let the students give their perspective from their on the ground.
So all of the students here, all 3 of you here, are kind of embedded in one of our parishes. Is that correct?
That's
right. Okay. Sean, why don't you tell us, since I'm now staring at you, why don't you tell, basically that is how this podcast is going. I'm staring at you intently. You're up next. So, Sean, why don't you tell us about where you came from and what parish you're in here?
Sure, yeah. So I'm originally from Pittsburgh, grew up in that area, and I entered the Diocese of Pittsburgh as a seminarian right after high school. So spent about 3.5 years there. Once I discerned out, I was about to graduate, needed something to do. I knew I kind of wanted to get into teaching, wanted to teach the faith, particularly theology, maybe at a high school level, but I wasn't really sure. So I wanted to continue to study somehow and find a way to kind of move in that direction. So someone told me about the ECHO program about 5 or 10 days before the application was due. So I hurried up, got my GRE registered, and filled out the application. And so it worked out. And so I've been sent out here to the Diocese of Camden, working in Mary Mother of Mercy Parish down in Glassboro.
Okay.
Oh, my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Not my parish, though, so you haven't seen me.
Which one's yours?
St. Bridget's, right across town.
Yeah, so we work closely with St. Bridget's. We do their faith formation and sacramental prep. So I'm over there every once in a while.
Oh, good. And that's Carrie Janice, also Glassboro now because of Rowan University.
Yeah.
So we could have ditched you for Carrie.
You could have.
Except she's never available except at 7 o'clock at night on a Monday. So it's tricky.
Okay.
You get this job because you're around. I mean, because you're good at it. You're so good at it.
Did you see that? I'm actually speechless for a second. Like it was like a little knife went in. I was like, what? No.
This is a tough podcast. I don't know what
Yes.
it is.
It is a tough crowd.
It's a Catholic podcast. It's not necessarily a Christian podcast, but it's definitely a Catholic podcast.
People don't need more ammo.
Right.
It's borderline Jesuit.
Dangerous.
Hey, well, I went to a Jesuit college, so I like to consider myself down that road. I'm the resident Jesuit. So Cheyenne, as I dig myself out of this ditch, where were you at, and sort of how did you come into this?
Yeah, so I'm originally from central Missouri, a very small town called Blackwater. My family farms. It's a very rural area. I went to college at the University of Notre Dame, where I did my undergraduate studies in neuroscience and theology. the way that I kind of ended up in the ECHO program, I was involved in a lot of campus ministry at Notre Dame, and one program in particular, Notre Dame Vision. It's a summer conference, sort of, is how they describe it, for high school students and college students at Notre Dame, St. Mary's, and Holy Cross, get to act as mentors for them when they come for a week over the summer. And so that was kind of that experience of ministry, just getting to work with even like that younger crowd. Usually I was kind of working with college students, but the groups of high school students that came through really just really touched me in a special way. And I really loved ministry, but at the time I thought, well, you don't do this as a job. Like, this is a cool like side gig, but never really thought of it as something that you do as a career. I was still, I was trudging my way through this neuroscience degree, while I loved it, but not as much as I loved theology and ministering to folks. So Scott Boyle, who is in charge of Notre Dame Vision, is also in charge of recruitment for the ECHO program. And so he and I had several conversations, and eventually just was like, ECHO would be a good way for me to really discern if ministry, if parish ministry is really where my strengths lie and where I would really flourish, and where my gifts could best be used for the church. So kind of did it as sort of a discernment experience. And as I've kind of come through it, I've realized that, I really do love parish ministry. So that's been a great gift. So I'm I'm at the parish in Cherry Hill, Christ Our Light, with my wonderful mentor, Kathy Johnson. She's been a real blessing. And
she's a great one.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
that's wonderful. And Christ Our Light's a great little parish, not a little parish. It's a great little
very
parish.
large.
It's a very large parish. It's a wonderful place to be. And then Helen, as someone just like Jen from Houston area, which is not true, and I've been getting that wrong for months now, apparently. How'd you end up on this path?
Yes, Mike. Well, first, I do concur that I think Texans would like you.
Thank you.
So I grew up outside of Houston, Fulshire, Texas, and I did my undergrad at Franciscan University of Steubenville. And I studied theology and catechetics for 4 years. And at the end of that time, I decided I would like to continue my studies, get my master's degree. As someone who is thinking about teaching, probably would help pay a little better if I had another degree to my name. And there's always so much to learn. And even after 4 years, of studying one thing, it's amazing how much you realize I don't know very much at all. I guess, we're studying a mystery. So
that's true.
That's how it works. So I was interested in getting my master's, but I knew that if I were to just go back to school for 2 years without actually putting into practice what I was learning about and what I was, what my end goal was, which was ministry, service to the church, then I would just explode. And what I was receiving wouldn't be, in fact, fruitful to me. I think it would, if it was just all sitting in my head building up. And so I learned about ECHO. My sister had heard of it. She did a similar program with her master's in education. And I heard about getting my master's degree for free and also working for 2 years in real life ministry. And that was very attractive. Also, the appeal of having a built-in community, because post-college, a lot of people struggle to find community, and especially ECHO's intentional faith communities. That's what they're called. It's very intentional space to not just live with other people and, have people who hopefully you befriend, but also to continue to be formed and to help form one another. And so it was just everything. The whole package was just beautiful. And so I applied and I got in. And I'm working in Haddonfield at Christ the King Parish.
Oh, it's not too far from you, Jen.
Right down the street.
And her mentor is Dolores Muzzillo, who was here on our podcast for Catechetical Sunday.
That's right.
We love
That's
her.
right.
She was a great podcast guest.
Yeah, she was great.
So let's go around in that same order again. So, Sean, what have you been doing in Marymount?
Yeah, so the program ECHO it's catechetically focused, so can be involved in a lot of different kinds of things. So some of my main projects are working in sacramental prep, mostly with confirmation program for both our parish and for St. Bridget's.
Mm-hmm.
Work in faith formation a bit, so helping out with some of the 8th grade classes, RCIA a little bit. Recently been doing some more liturgical formation, right? Since the liturgy, we don't think of it as being catechetical necessarily, since that's not its primary end, but it is like our first source of catechesis. It's the main thing that orients us towards God and teaches us what we believe, how we worship. So I've been training some of the new altar servers, going to be training some of our older altar servers to MC our bigger liturgies.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that.
Was your youth, when you were much younger, in your preteen years, was it a particularly faith-filled youth, or is this something you came to later?
Yeah, so it started pretty young. I moved around a bit when I was little, but when I moved to Pittsburgh, I started going to Catholic school, and so I was about 3rd grade. I was exposed to the lives of the saints, and I just fell in love. As like a young boy, I always loved stories of knights and adventures, and pirates, all the kinds of things that little kids love. And then, I don't know, I think generally as you grow up, you're told that those things aren't real, that, to be a functioning adult, you just have to give up on the adventure and get a normal job in a corporate world, and that's it. And then I saw in the lives of the saints the opportunity for a life of adventure, that there are truly things worth fighting for, and things worth giving your life for. Mm-hmm. So I fell in love with that, and then started altar serving around that time, which was, partly, I think, connected to that. Partly just because they told me that I could make like $5 if I served a funeral or something.
That, once again, money goes a long way. So it's very incentivizing.
For sure. And, but yeah, in that experience, I just fell in love with the liturgy. It was, so beautiful to be so close to the Blessed Sacrament. Even in, at times, kind of weird liturgies. We had a very strange church with like the altar in the middle. When they tried to expand it, they just added another side to the opposite, so the priest is facing half the people and it's back to some of the people. In the midst of all the weird stuff, the Lord was able to reach out to me in that, and that's kind of what set me on this path.
Wow.
I wanted to continue that.
Okay, that's awesome.
I just have to say,
I knew you were going to say so. I knew as he was talking. I was like, Jen is so moved by this right now.
I am. But you know what I love? The adventure part of it. And faith is an adventure.
It has to be.
It has to be, and
never-ending adventure.
Right.
Yeah.
And we look at the saints, and sometimes we're like, oh, well, that was back then, right? But no. And what you just said too, we're not afraid to stand up something where maybe you even have to give your life for. That still stands true today, but I don't think a lot of people have the bravery to say that or even admit it. So it was nice to hear that. So thank you for saying that. Yeah. You're right. I do have something to say about it. I was very moved by that.
The whole time he was talking, I wasn't listening to him, but I was like, Jen's going to say something. I could feel it. I could literally feel it emanating from you. That's a good thing, though. He's very moving. Also, he's going to make a great minister someday.
I know. Yeah.
Sorry.
I also wanted to be a pirate when I was a child. You were talking about all the piracy and all the, adventures. That's why.
You still have a shot. You don't have to wait.
It's true.
We're right near the river. You can go pirate anything you want.
Yeah.
So how about you, Cheyenne? What are you doing at Christ Our Lady?
Yeah. I don't know, I call it my big project just because it's kind of the thing that I started was young adult ministry. It's a 2-year program, so we're at the beginning of our 2nd year. So at the beginning, when I came in, there wasn't a young adult ministry at Christ Our Light. So that was one of the things that they asked me to start up. It's been quite an adventure, if I can use that word after Sean just did so eloquently. Maybe I mean it in a little bit of a different way, but so that's kind of my main focus is building up the young adult community in our parish of Christ Our Light, but also in the surrounding area, because young adult ministry is just not really present in a lot of parishes in the diocese, I found.
That is true.
So it's been really good to try to like branch out, and actually about half the people who come to young adult events are not from our parish. So it's really, really beautiful to kind of, bridge multiple parishes and get involved at different ones in the area. So that's kind of my main focus is young adult ministry. But my favorite part of my job probably is I've had the opportunity to be a fifth grade catechist in our elementary faith formation program, and which was, as Sean said, like this is primarily like a catechetical program that we're in, but for some reason it didn't really register in my mind that meant like teaching. And so I'm more of like my ministry experience is more like conversational with people. I sit down and listen to their experiences rather than like a teaching kind of like imparting information sort of, and so I never really thought of myself as a teacher, and so when I started this is the second year that I've been able to teach a fifth grade class. I just love that age group. It was just so surprising. They are just wonderful, but I found that I found through my kids really calling me out very, very truly. When I first started, I had not had any experiences with teaching. So when I came in, I was, very like reliant on the textbook, and I didn't really trust myself, I guess. I was like, I need to, read and make sure that, this is exactly what we're learning. We're just trusting the book. And we got several weeks in, and one of my kids one day was just like, when are we going to do something? I just thought, yeah, you're right. Like, this is super boring. It's beautiful because we're talking about the truth of the church and, but I mean, man, like, I could do something a lot more fun with these 10-year-olds, who are coming right after school, and it's just, like they're tired and I'm tired. It's the end of the day, and so it stung a little bit to hear them say that. It was also, I don't know, like a shocking kind of like shocked me out of my complacency isn't the right word, but but to want to do more for them, and so through that experience, I've kind of been able to, grow into my, my vocation as a catechetical leader, and have different, fun experiences. Now every week I'm trying to do some like activity or some game with them to, teach. I remember one week last year we were talking about sin, and fun topic. I mean, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do with them that's like, quote unquote fun, like not to like how do you make sin fun, but but that's kind of like I was like, how did
sin is usually fun all on its own.
That's true. That is, so I came up with some game, and and they played it, and then the next week I don't remember what we were talking about the next week, but the kids were like, oh, can we play that again? I'm like, wow. Nice. No, but but it just I don't know, like experiences like that. And one week we went over and we just spent like 15 or 20 minutes like in church, sitting in front of the tabernacle, and it was hard to keep them quiet, but we kind of led them through this experience of prayer and just had them kind of imagine that they were having a conversation with Jesus. And we got back to the classroom afterwards, and I was just asking them to share about what that was like for them. And one kid asked, he was like, what if Jesus talked back to you? And I was like, he said, how do you know if that was really Jesus or if that was just like in your head? And I thought,
a great question.
Oh my, yeah. I was like, you know what, man, I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, that is great. If you come up with the answer, let me know. But it was just like experiences like that. Just, oh my gosh, I love my job.
Wonderful.
This is fantastic, and just really, remind me of what I'm doing here.
Right.
And gives me hope for the church. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
I like the fact that you're teaching, the younger generation, but then you also get the experience of working with young adults.
Yeah.
So it's like you're working with two totally different and yet honest in two totally different ways. Like the kids saying, oh, come on, this is boring. When are we going to do something fun? And then asking such a deep question. So, and then you're going to the young adults, which kind of spoke to what you were saying, Helen, about, like post-college, it's hard to find community. So that's, that's one, I think it is. It's very, all young adults say that all the time. Like you're in those, not youth groups, but young adult groups in college, and then you're out. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have a community anymore. So the fact that, that other, you said young adults are coming from other locations, not just the one parish. So that's obviously needed. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Helen, what are you doing at Christ the King?
Yeah, so I am primarily involved in the religious education department. So I get to teach second graders, which has been really fun.
That's communion group.
Right.
Nice time.
It's a big year. It's a big year. First reconciliation and first communion. Lots of big words we're learning.
Collective we.
Yes, we. Yeah, so that's been really fun. And last year was all virtual still. And so this year, actually, this past Monday was our first day of religious education class of the new year. And it was all in person again. So that was a big day. And really exciting just to get into an actual classroom and get to see my kids real life. Because last year I didn't see them really in person until rehearsal for the sacraments. And they're so tiny, first of all. On the screen, you forget, like, everyone is the same size. And then they would look up at me and like, immediately look away because they, like, that's my teacher and she exists in real life, you know? It's very adorable. Anyway, so that's a joy. I also help out with the confirmation prep a little bit. And my main thing is coordinating the homeschool program for religious ed. And so, yeah, those families, we have over 100 students in the homeschool program at my church. And then I'm I'm involved heavily in the youth ministry, or as we like to refer to it, ministry to youth. We're not just, my parish doesn't have a youth minister, and it's intentional. Not just having like a weekly regular, pizza game talk youth group, but really trying to expand our understanding of how we minister to youth, and altar serving, getting them plugged into lecturing at Mass. That's ministry to youth, and letting them get involved in the ministry of the parishes. But I specifically focus on high school, trying to keep some high schoolers engaged in the parish, and because they're confirmed in 8th grade, you don't see a lot of them again, giving them opportunities to find community and a role and a place in the parish. And then just kind of we use the term liaison to other ministries that some parishioners have started, or my pastor has initiated and has volunteers with, but I'm just kind of that point person on the staff who engages with those ministries, and I get to be heavily involved. We have some different middle school ministries, there's one called Blaze, which is actually a national program that's connected with the Walking with Purpose. I don't know if you are familiar with it. And we're just trying to start a new ministry for boys of the same age group. So yeah, working with the youth, and it's tough. It's a challenge when it's not part of the culture of the parish.
Sure, yeah. But
that's been a joy and a big learning experience. Yeah, and I get to, a couple of fun things I get to do is I'll lecture or cantor at Mass sometimes, and
that's nice.
I really do enjoy that. That's a fun part of my job.
I was just wondering, I'm sorry, how long is the ECHO program? Is it 2 years, 3 years?
2 years.
2 years, okay.
Are you all 2 year or 1 year?
So this is our second year. So we've been in the Diocese of Camden since last August, and then we were away for the summer at Notre Dame, taking more intensive classes towards our master's degree. And now we're back. We've been back in the diocese now for about 7 or 8 weeks, and we're here through the end of May, which will almost conclude our time in ECHO.
Okay. And from a technical standpoint, in terms of your degrees and actually getting your credits and whatnot, how does that actually work? How does this translate into a master's?
Yeah, so we do most of our classes over the summer. So we do about 4 or 5 classes each summer in just kind of condensed form. And then while we're here during the academic year, we take classes online, typically about 1 per semester. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, we do our capstone project and then go back to the university to present And then we get some credit for we call it our field placement, just our work in the parish.
What's your capstone project?
Ooh, yeah. So it depends. We haven't really fully started them yet.
Okay.
But the goal is basically to represent some aspect of the faith that we think is being neglected in some way or another. So
that would be interesting.
Yeah. So there's a written portion and a presentation portion. So next semester we'll be working more heavily on those.
Well, this is a discernment process, and I know you're essentially halfway through, just a little past halfway. What have you discerned? Sean, you already talked, so Helen, what have you discerned? We haven't started with you once. You've had the benefit of going last. So what have you discerned so
Take
far?
it easy on my Texas cohort.
She's from Texas. She's tough. It's okay.
True. It's true. During my time in the program. Well, for me personally, I've been able to discern more clearly, I think, some of the gifts and also some of the places where the Lord has given others gifts that I do not possess. But in relation to ministry, my work in ministry and what that can look like. So specifically, I really find a joy in teaching. And there is actually a teaching track to the program that some Echo participants teach in schools, and then we are all on the parish track. But within the parish, I have plenty of opportunities to teach, and I've definitely discerned. I think that's a passion for me and something that I would like to pursue after the program. I think parish ministry is great, and it's also really, really hard. And you don't have a consistent schedule, even week to week, let alone day to day. And there's been a lot of freedom in that. And also I've realized oh wow, this is really hard for me. And so, yeah, it's just very interesting to think about just the difference in the day of a teacher and the day of a parish employee, and just seeing things in myself. Oh yeah, it would be nice to just to not have so many different day schedules sometimes.
We know the feeling. We're in the communications department. We get it. Trust us.
I know you guys.
We know. That's our life.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really have loved the teaching, the catechetical aspect. So that's something that I've discerned, I suppose. Is weaknesses and strengths.
What about you, Cheyenne? What have you discerned so far?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, kind of my whole idea of coming into this ECHO program was for discernment. I wanted to see if this really was something that I loved and that I was good at. Also important. And yeah, just through my time here, I have realized that parish ministry is where I belong. I love the relationships with parishioners, with staff, and yeah, I mean, my home parish back in Missouri was very small, very, very different from Christ Our Light, which was a shock to me. So that's also one of the gifts that, being placed in the Diocese of Camden has given me, is the church out here looks different from, the church in central Missouri and the church, at the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. So yeah, that's really been a blessing to get to see how the church is different in different, geographical locations. But yeah, I love the relationships and the family, dynamic that hopefully comes with being a part of a parish. So yeah, just the people, I love them very much and very dearly. And yeah, just it's such a gift to just be even, it's only a 2-year program, but getting to be a part of the faith journey of so many of my parishioners. And, I work with, the youngest kid last year. I taught some first graders and all the way up to, the older members of my congregation, my parishioners. And so, yeah, just a gift to be even on a small part of their faith journey, and allowing them to be a part of mine too has just been really lovely. So yeah, parish ministry.
Have you figured out how to pair neuroscience and parish ministry?
Not quite. I mean, people do ask me questions. Actually, earlier in the week, we were talking about creation with my fifth graders, and questions about that came up. Like evolution. I mean, kids and all the kids who are coming to the faith formation classes are in public schools, and so they're hearing about like evolution, and of course, even kids in Catholic schools are learning about evolution and all that. And so like having to field questions like that, and being able to tell my kids with confidence, like, faith and science go together. Like, they're not
so important.
Which I think just seems very foreign to a lot of people for a long time. Science was very opposed to religion and faith, and so it's been really a gift to have that background and to say to them with confidence, and that I believe it too, that faith and reason go together.
That's right.
Some of the greatest scientific discoveries have come out of the Catholics.
Absolutely.
Out of the Catholics.
Absolutely.
The McGrath Institute recently this year just started a institute dedicated to the study of faith and mental health, and those studies are grounded in neuroscience and how interesting responses to stressors and how certain faith exercises and practices of faith can actually address that. It's a magnificent. So I love the fact that our future leaders in the faith are going to have scientific background to help bring these worlds together, because now more than ever we're going to need it.
Well, I've been fighting for that for years. As everyone knows, I'm a science aficionado. I read astrophysics books for leisure. I love that kind of stuff, and I listen to a whole bunch of science podcasts. And I've been on that bender for quite a while now, is telling people that they are not necessarily mutual. They are not mutually exclusive at all. As a matter of fact, they can come together. They can be usurped, but they are absolutely able to be worked together.
And there's so many studies out there that show that a lot of the reasons that young people fall away from the church is because they say, oh, well, science and faith don't go together, and which is just absolutely not true. So the more people that we can get in our churches who are going to be the next generation of parish catechetical leaders to say, no, they do go together, and here's why, that's going to be key to the future of our church.
So, Sean, what have you discerned?
Yeah, so kind of similar to Helen. Like, I think I would want to continue after the program in teaching, but more in a school environment. I love the opportunity to be able to dive into whatever concept or theory it is in sort of a long form, and take the slow, methodical route of just showing the deep intelligibility of the faith. Last year I had an opportunity to teach a little bit at Gloucester Catholic High School, at a class of seniors.
I'm an alumni.
Oh, wonderful.
So, thank you.
Yeah. And it was such a great time, just to be able to take more time to really unpack the questions that they had and take them really seriously. Yeah. Whereas, in most faith formation environments and at parish, I see the class for maybe an hour once a week. Yeah. And that's been a really beautiful growing experience to look at the topic and say, okay, I have to explain, the Trinity, whatever, in an hour, and then they're going to be gone for a week. So I have just this amount of time, and so I have to condense it down to what's the most important, what's the most understandable explanation, what can they really take and run with. Yeah. So that's been a great forming experience.
That's great. That's wonderful.
After you.
And Mike
and I both opened our mouths to talk at the same time. That was the dead air, in case anybody was wondering. Yes.
I was just going to ask, it's kind of repetitive, which is why I then shut up. But I was going to ask, had you decided what jobs you want after you're done? Have you actually thought about that? Like what you're going to look for, Helen?
Well, yeah, I mean, I touched on it.
Be a teacher?
Probably teaching. Yeah, I think with what Sean was saying, the ability to build relationship so consistently with the kids. Yeah. I love that that ability that teachers have to really build strong relationships, and that totally impacts your teaching and your ability to hand on the faith.
And Lee, actually any of you could probably answer this, but certainly Lee, you as well. When people finish the program, typically what do people decide to do with the program and the people you've known prior to you?
Yeah, it varies. I mean, a lot of people do end up working for the church. I know one young woman who graduated this past summer. Her undergrad degree was in engineering, and now she has an engineering job, and she uses her experience and her formation, in the ECHO program to evangelize at her job and to just live, to live the Christian life at her engineering job. And but yeah, other people, go on to be teachers. Work in a parish. There are a lot of other
work at apostolates and institutes or
Retreat
religious life.
Retreat centers.
Some continuing studies go on for doctorates or other masters. One of our graduates last year just started a fellowship with the John Jay Institute.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, I'll remind everyone that communications departments are technically ministries of the church.
Absolutely.
I mean, officially my title, well, not officially, traditionally my title would be the Minister of Communications. So, just want to let you know, Jen, as we're looking for people to fill positions going forward, we could probably convince a few ECHO students to join us at some point. We talk about that all the time, that you love working with interns and stuff like that.
I do, actually, yeah.
You
very
love
much
young
so.
people.
I do. I do.
You do love young
I do.
people.
Well, as a writer, if anybody's interested in being a writer or a photographer, I've also worked with designers. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I've already talked about, I have a former student and intern who was just nominated for a state journalism award, Thomas Weidman, for his breaking news reporting on important community that had been taken advantage of. So, I'd love working with anybody who wants to work in the communications field.
And you and I have both learned that this department, the stuff that we do, is great for discernment as well.
It is. It is.
I mean, you and I are learning, because of the nature of our jobs, where we have to basically learn the entirety of the Catholic Church. It's all about learning something new every single day. It's so I say that to say this. When the time comes, if you see an open position within the communications department, or if you'd like me to fire anybody and hire you instead, totally on board with that.
He will.
I have no problem with that.
And then we'll give you a podcast.
And then I'll give you a podcast. Oh, that's the other thing. Yeah, I love giving people platforms.
He does.
So you can have a YouTube show, the whole thing. Matter of fact, you guys could have a YouTube show now. You guys want a YouTube show? I got some space on my YouTube calendar.
See?
You guys can do
Talk about
it.
it next house meeting.
Yeah, that's what I like to
Jump
hear.
right in.
So we have Talking Catholic has its own YouTube channel. If you guys would like to do an Echo-based YouTube show,
That would be
I will absolutely support
awesome.
that.
Day in the life.
Yeah, that would be really great.
really fun.
Feel free to consider it. It's all yours.
Cooking show. Sean is a really good cook.
yes.
Absolutely.
Our resident chef.
Which
Even better.
reminds me, I heard you guys made a big dinner this week. What? Tell us. Yeah. Well, hey, when it comes to food, we are all on board. Tell us what that was all about.
Yeah, so a couple times a year we have an opportunity to host what we call a diocesan dinner, where we bring together all the people from the diocese who are involved in our program and just give them a meal to say thank you for their help in the program. So we decided to do kind of an Italian-themed dinner because it was on the Feast of St. Francis of Assisi.
Oh.
So
Nice.
Cheyenne made her special spinach artichoke dip.
I don't think that's Italian, but that was just
But it's my favorite thing, so I wish her
He eats it with a spoon.
I stand by. I am not embarrassed.
It's vegetables.
Worth it.
Right.
What did you make?
Yeah, so Helen made a autumnal salad with candied pecans.
Ooh.
Delicious.
Good stuff.
Delicious.
Yeah, I like that.
Maple vinaigrette. Very
That's
fun.
delicious.
And then we made pappardelle and
Sean
bolognese.
made
Homemade
Wow.
pappardelle.
Wow.
I did hear that through the rumor mill. So talk more about that. Yeah.
Paint a
I
picture.
just worked from home that
It was working.
Yeah, so just, rolled out my pasta and, had the bolognese on the stove in the back
man.
burner.
I will not do. I'm an excellent baker and I'm a very good cook, but the one thing I will not do is make pasta.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah, but
phenomenal.
that's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
And then dessert, we made tiramisu.
Oh,
Very nice.
How was it? Good.
Oh, it was really good. It was our second attempt. It was the better attempt.
Okay.
Nice.
Round
It
was,
held up better.
A little soggy, didn't
Yeah.
really have as much structural integrity.
The key is let it actually
engineering
chill
background.
overnight
Exactly.
and don't just eat it right away.
Okay.
You got
Make
to
a big
patient
difference.
left.
Yeah. How many people were you serving? Like, how many people came to dinner?
There were
I think 10.
Okay.
There were 10 of us total.
10 of us total.
It's a pretty big number.
Absolutely. It was a fun time.
Of
Sounds
course,
like it.
they meet us after they have the dinner. I'm sure we got to weasel our way into an invitation.
Well, you know what? We will be the taste testers on the YouTube show, Cooking with the Echo Students.
You just
Necessary position.
Chef Sean.
you just provide the wine.
That is not a problem.
Jen can handle that.
Yeah,
Not a problem.
I'm on the case
Not a problem.
of wine. That is.
I know we've heard about the ECHO program for a long time. I've never actually. I don't think I've really interacted with any of our ECHO students much in the past, other than occasionally running into you at masses and things like that. I love the fact that this program exists. Off the top of your head, how many people are in the ECHO program nationwide? Would you have an idea?
Did you say 60?
Yeah, there's 60 total. So it's over 2 years. So every year a new cohort begins. So in each cohort there's 30 of us. So 60 people in the program at a time.
And what other dioceses are they placed in? Do you know?
Oh gosh, all
Loads.
over.
A variety.
So all over the country. From,
Really?
Galveston,
Portland, from the Northwest down to St. Augustine's, Florida, St. Pete's.
Kalamazoo.
We have a community now over in Meath in Ireland. So expanding international.
Oh, that's good.
There's actually 2 communities in Newark, in North Jersey. Yeah.
We don't like talking about that.
Yeah, that's okay. We were very pro all of Jersey. We're mostly pro South Jersey, but we're pro all Jersey.
We have to be hospitable to even our neighbors to the north.
Well,
It's true.
she's from the Diocese of Trenton, and it took a lot to invite her down, but she was really good.
So where would you say that the Diocese of Trenton is? Is that Central Jersey, or you're the position
Doesn't
that
exist.
Doesn't exist?
No, that does not
Doesn't
exist.
exist
It's
in,
North
like-
Jersey and South Jersey.
Right.
Okay.
But
That's
when
one
you
of the
live
things that we
in
learned.
the Trenton area, you say Central Jersey.
They do.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
wrong, but they do. They do.
Since we're talking about geographical areas, I feel like I should fess up to Helen right now, because Helen just mentioned the Houston-Galveston area. That Helen, a couple weeks ago, I accidentally said on the podcast that Texas was landlocked. So.
Yeah. And did I?
And I feel like I want to say that now before Mike gets to it, so I'm going to just say that now that I said that.
Thank you
'Cause
for your confession.
And Mike said, "Is it?" And I was like, "No, it's not."
No, the hurricane history would say differently.
Yes. Very true.
No.
You're from Dallas, Fort Worth. I get it.
That's what I'm saying. We were talking about how there's
That's
no
landlocked.
beaches.
Dallas is very landlocked.
And so I said, "There's no oceans. We're landlocked." And as soon as it came out, Mike was like, "Is it?" And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's really
And
not."
I definitely didn't let it go either.
Nope.
That was a
I
good
think
one.
that showed up 2 more times.
That has showed up many times, even
Yeah.
when you're not in the room.
But
That was-
what?
oh yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know.
No.
So when you mentioned Galveston, I had to, say something. So I know
I like
we don't
that you
have
outed yourself.
I
That was
did.
nice.
We don't have a lot of time left, but there is one question I wanted to ask. You all are here during a very unique time because you were here for the Synod process, and now you're here for the the beginning of the 3-year Eucharistic revival. Was either the Synod or the Eucharistic? Oh, I cannot say that word today. Eucharistic revival. And have you incorporated that into any of your experiences here in your ministries that you've been working with?
You can say no because we have like 2 minutes left.
I know, that's
so
what I mean. I threw out a big
She
question.
just asked a big question right as we're
That was
starting
the
to wrap
question
up.
I was going to say when you had your mouth open at the same time and asked the same question again, which mine was unique.
In under 10 seconds, can you
Yeah.
describe what your relationship to Eucharistic revival is?
Yeah, so we're involving Eucharistic revival in more of our faith formation programs. We're having more Eucharistic adoration, particularly for our middle school program. We're having all of our faith formation kids come to our 40 hours in the beginning of November, which, if this is out by then, come to 40 hours at Mary Mother of Mercy, beginning of November.
It will be.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Definitely be out. And actually, Helen, you were going with the second grader, so you're right into that Eucharistic
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
Actually, we might have to have her back. I want one of these days. I'm going to have a conversation. We're going to have a podcast just on the sacrament of reconciliation, and I think that'd be fun to because everybody's so afraid of it. Everybody is so not everybody's so over it, but so many people are afraid of it because you're kind of opening yourself up and things like that. And I would love to know how a second grade religious ed teacher teaches about that, but I'm not going to ask you to answer that question because we have exactly 1 minute left. But no, this has really been very good. So Do you think you're going to be taking this stuff back with you? Are you looking forward to leaving the South Jersey area? Or have we so impressed you now you want to stay with us?
I love it here. I've really been surprised. Okay, I know it sounds bad. It's just because people warned me. I mean, I'm from the Midwest, and I'm like, oh my gosh, those Northeastern people are just so mean, and they're aggressive, and they drive terribly, and which the driving
The last one's
is true.
Yeah.
I've learned to be aggressive with them,
That's
so
right.
it's fine.
Right.
But yeah, I really do love this area. It is very far from home, which is kind of the one downside for me. But I have come to love the church in South Jersey, and I will be the first to tell you how great it is.
That's
so
because you're right. We're awesome.
Ditto that.
Well, you're all welcome to stay. Your families might not agree, but you're all welcome to stay. You've had a great impact, and we are also in this diocese quite good at finding talent and then nurturing it. So we're glad that this program exists in South Jersey to begin with, and when we see good talent, we don't like it to leave. So, Cheyenne, if you're any good, we'll keep you around. I promise. But no, this has been a great example, and Lee, as this program continues to flourish, I'd love to meet every group that comes through in the forthcoming years. So this is wonderful. So keep up the good work, and that's about it for everybody. So thank you all for joining us today. This has been great, and to our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again next week. See you, everybody.